Why is the state of mental health in America in such a sorry place? Why is the state of mental health in America so poor? People historically have had hard lives, and people historically have worked very hard to survive those hard lives. And those hardships and those hard lives didn't give them the opportunity to have the freedom for such things as entertainment and leisure and pleasure. They were just trying to survive. Lyhadus, like you see in the animal world. Animals just try to keep it together. They need food, they need shelter, they need to procreate. It's not more complicated than that. And not to be eaten, to stay alive. When people have it hard, we don't like it, and we wish it was easier. But we have no choice to make our lives work. What happens when your life is not that hard? When you have free time, when you have the kind of security and safety and nourishment and warmth that gives you space to do things other than survive, than to do things other than work hard. What do you do at that time? What do you do with that space? What do you do with that energy? What do they do with all those parts of yourself? And history has shown that man is basically an animal, which basically means I'm going to be as lazy as I must be. If I have to work to earn money so that I don't starve, I will. But if I have enough money and I'm not starving, then I'll sit on a couch. And I think this is a significant way of explaining the reason there's so many people who are so unhappy. Our lives are so good, and our choices are so poor. Our lives are so good, and our priorities are reflecting not wisdom, not God has given me so many hours in the week that I don't have to work, that I don't have to do something because he's made my life easier, by giving me a car rather than a wagon and a washing machine, rather than a river and a board and a refrigerator, rather than having to look for fresh food each day. And the list goes on and on and on and on. And we have so much time that our ancestors didn't have, and so much opportunity that our ancestors didn't have. And the challenge to us is to use these gifts responsibly. And to use these gifts responsibly, not because we have no choice, because otherwise we're not going to survive, but because we're human beings, and human beings are supposed to reflect something higher, a higher value, a higher priority, and really, as it says in the Chumash, that we're in the image of God. And I think we're failing that test to a very great extent. We're failing to a very great extent, not just if we're secular, but even if we're religious. People who are very blessed. So some of them use every free moment to learn Torah. Some of them use every free moment to do tzedakah. But some of them use every free moment for leisure and for entertainment. And it's wonderful, and it's fun, and it's harmless, as they say. But it's not good for the person. A human being is a very deep creation. And he will not be satisfied by pleasure. He will not be satisfied by barbecues and entertainment and sitting around. It just doesn't work. The human soul, I'm not even talking about a Jew, I'm talking about a human being. A human soul is so thirsty for purpose and for meaning. So if our lives are very hard, the purpose and meaning is living. And it's so interesting that people whose lives are harder tend to be naturally closer to other people, right? Who has better marriages? Poor people or rich people? Who has better marriages? People who live in more difficult situations, or people who live more affluent environments. And of course, they'll tell you, well, of course, when the people are poor, they have no choice. They got to stay together, otherwise they're not going to survive. But there's another side to that. Another side to that is the very fact that they're staying together because of their hardships gives an incredible meaning to their lives. That intimacy, that closeness, that relationship, even if it's coming from poverty, is a good thing. And it's true with our spouse, our husband and our wife, and it's true with our children, and it's even true with our parents. So when the Eibishter gives us opportunity, it makes our lives easier. And we begin to not need other people. And we begin to have free time that we can use for all kinds of other things. If we waste our time, if we waste our relationships, if we throw them away like Kleenex and we don't consider it important enough to preserve because I don't like this person for this reason and that person for the other reason and this person I just couldn't be bothered with, we're not throwing away our time, we're not throwing away people, we're throwing away our life. And the end of that is we're miserable. We're just so unhappy. And it's very unfortunate. It's very unfortunate. I like to say, and I believe, that America brought to the world a concept which is literally historic. And it's the concept of freedom. America is 250 years old very soon. Right now what are we holding? 2000 and almost 24, right? 2026 will be 250 years. I remember when I was a 10-year-old, we had the bicentennial, 200 years. We have 250 years since the birth of America. America created what Adams called a social experiment. Lincoln called it an experiment of people ruling themselves. And they introduced to the world freedom that's been embraced by most of the world. This kind of freedom, where people get to whatever they want, they make their own decisions, is historic. It never existed. People were always controlled by others, by governments, by kings, or by their parents even, by their community, by the social order of things. I believe that these freedoms have come into the world recently because they're the last test. God Almighty created mankind, and the mankind is going in a direction of good to better, towards Mashiach. And the ultimate test of humankind is to have the freedom and the opportunity to do whatever we want and to choose to do the right thing. And the freedom and the opportunity to live any way we want, we can squander our lives. We can live like children. And we can choose to live responsibly. Not because we have to, but because we choose to. And it's a test. It's a test that did not exist historically because we weren't ready for it, but it's a test that we're ready for now, and the proof of it is that it's upon us. And in my mind, it's a step in the direction of Mashiach for Yidden and Lahavla for Goyim, for non-Jews, because Mashiach means being righteous just because I choose to, not because I have to, not because I have no alternative. And this is the test of the modern world. This is the test of the world in which we live. Such a high percentage of people have so much material access, so much access to materialism and freedom and safety and security. And they're tempted by nonsense, by lust in this direction, in this direction, in this direction. And all of these trivial forms of entertainment that people call immediate gratification. They're really harmless, and in most cases they're not even wrong, but they're empty. And they drain our soul. They drain our soul. They drain our soul in the kind of way that we wake up and say, I need to live a more meaningful life. We don't have the strength to get off the couch and to create a meaningful life for ourselves. And it results in all this misery. So I think the answer to the question is, the solution to the problem of the unhappiness in the Western world is not pills, it's not drugs, it's not therapists. It's people growing up. And if I may say so, it means having a relationship with God, having a Torah, having mitzvahs, and embracing responsibility, not because we have no choice, but because this is what God expects of us, to be responsible people. And I think that's where happiness lies. People always feel, why should I do this? Why is he telling me to do this? And I have to listen to him. And the answer to the question, he's not telling you to do this, he's teaching you how you can best be what a human being is meant to be. And if we choose to listen to him, we're the biggest winners in the world. The biggest winners in the world. And just to say one part of this, the most fundamental component of this is marriage. And marriage is for a lifetime. It's not a trip. Joining with another human being in a bond that's so absolute, the two people literally become one over the course of their lives. The hardest thing we'll ever do, but it's also what matures us. It's also what helps us find the best within ourselves. And from that point of view, we bring children into the world. And from that point of view, we relate to our siblings and to our parents and to the environment. It's righteous. It's hard, and it's righteous.